Hi, welcome to the second episode of Job Hunt Essentials. In this episode, we will be talking about managing the most important resource, the time. Come on, let's move on to the episode. So, some of the common failure patterns which I've noticed in myself and also in a lot of folks that I have mentored over the past few years with job hunting are first thing is that like some folks tend to be over cautious about studying thoroughly. They keep studying over and over again, like keep preparing so that they feel comfortably knowledgeable to start giving an interview, and sometimes that takes way too long and they keep studying all the time. And then there's another group of folks like who, if they are they are interested in their jobs, they tend to just have over too much amount of work in their current job or like school, and that kind of takes away a lot of time that they say that they don't have a lot of time to spend on job hunting. You are switching a job in the first place because your job was overwhelming or like not meeting your career needs, but ironically that tends to take away too much time to like help them move on to the next important thing in their career. And finally, another third set of folks who like tend to just give every interview that they have, as it comes, and they just see what sticks. Now like that works. Let's say you may be like a genius who can just give an interview and like crack all of them, but I've found that idea has not worked in a lot of cases. So these are like common three patterns that I've noticed in myself and a lot of folks. And if you think you might fall into one of these three categories, then this episode might be of interest to you. Reiterating a quote that I mentioned in my previous video as well, because it's worth saying over and over again: the job search is a job by itself. Acknowledging that is very important when it comes to strategically planning your job search. Why is that important? Like first, I would like to split my job switching journey into three parts. The first thing is to make a decision to switch. Like that's like you may have something already going on fine in your life, as a career or as a job, and you're trying to like look into what's lacking or like what can be done to further improve yourself in your career, and like you made a decision to switch, and that's the first part. And then the meaty part of your job switch where you're really interviewing, and then like once you crack a good amount of interviews, then you're like negotiating the offer, understanding the terms of your offer to see which best suits your career journey and what will be the next best thing you want to take up as your job. In this episode, and like pretty much in most of my upcoming videos, I'm only going to be focusing on the middle part, which is the interviewing. Now, interviewing might sound like one single task, but it's actually a pretty complicated one, right? It's not just about like giving an interview and cracking the interview, but there is the part of networking to find people in similar profiles, to like network with them and find for referrals. There's the part of applying for jobs. You need to prepare for interviews and of course crack them. And then a lot of times you also have to like be following up with recruiters and companies to make sure the process keeps moving along. And this does not put the rest of your life to stand still. You still have your family commitments, you still have your current job or your school to like, and there are tasks to take care of as well. So juggling all these things can quickly start becoming very overwhelming, and that's where time management is very important. Once you're into this interviewing phase, it's important to identify the tasks that are at your hand and make sure you're investing proportional amount of energy. Now, of course, you have your current job or like your job, your task related to school, which is like outside this scope, but that's still going to take away your time. And then there is family, so you need to be spending time with your family, like attending to the needs. And then now you're introducing a new block of tasks, which is the job hunt, into this existing schedule that you have. Now, as I mentioned, this is still another job by itself. So this should not be really taking away the time that you take to relax and recreate. So I would still wanna like keep separate amount of time for relaxation and like re-energizing myself. So that's that should still be considered, job hunting should be considered as a job by itself and not something that always eats into your relaxing time. And this job hunting part, I would like, once you have like decided these are the major blocks of where I want to be spending my time, you would allocate like some amount of hours per week into your job hunting block. And this is the block of time that I'm going to be talking deeper into, like how I'm going to be splitting it. The first block inside the job hunt that I would be using is the networking. Networking is mostly like, talking to folks who are like in very similar career profiles in companies that you're interested in, or like people who are a little bit more senior or like higher senior folks in the same area, to understand about the opportunities, to understand like where you are better fit in the current state, and like see if you can get referrals, like understand better, and like hone your resume and profile to better meet the market needs. So this kind of networking is quite essential, and we'll be talking more about that in a separate episode. And I would definitely keep spending like 5% of my time as I'm in this job hunting phase. And then next comes like applying to jobs. Sometimes like you may not be able to like do this like for all these things, and earlier in your earlier in your career, you may have to apply for quite a lot of jobs to like see what clicks, and that might take away like sometimes even 15% of your time, going online, identifying job, and working through portals to apply to jobs. And then the meaty part, which is mostly interview prep. If you are a software engineer, this might mean like working on like coding interviews, system design interviews. If you are like a management professional, then like it's working on case studies or projects and so on. And this would be the meaty 50% of your time that you're really like prepping yourself for the job hunt. And besides interview prep, there is also boosting your profile. Now, like the resume is still the key part of your like job hunting packet, but there's more things that started to also influence how your profile gets portrayed in the job market. Like this could be your LinkedIn profile, your GitHub, or any other like personal homepage where you showcase your work. So working on that to like boost it better as a personal branding platform is also something that's worth investing 5% of your time as you're entering into the job market. I have noticed my home pages like having very high spikes of visits as every time I'm close to the job market, which makes me believe that like recruiters and like folks that are interviewing me tend to like do that level of research as well. And then of course the 20% of the time goes to giving interviews. This means like actually meeting with the companies, giving interviews, and like scheduling things and so on. And finally 5% of the time goes to follow-ups. This is mostly to respond. I would limit this to mostly responding to the requests that the companies would have. Let's say if they want to look for more documentation or like finding references for background verification and so on, and I wouldn't really spend a lot of time trying to go behind recruiter asking for an update, because if you have really cleared it, they would be coming back to you. And a lot of times it's unfortunate that there is ghosting that tends to happen, and that also puts a lot of anxiety in folks. So I would say not to spend a lot of time like trying to ask what's going on as the next step in your interview. Give your interview. If you've done well, they're going to come back. If not, just keep moving on to the next thing, and don't waste your time if you think they're probably ghosting you. The most important, and these are different blocks that I have identified that were taking away my time during the job hunt phase, and maybe you might have more blocks or you may have lesser blocks depending on your profile and your current situation. So this is not like a common template. I just wanted to share my strategy when it comes to managing time for job hunting. But the most important part here when you're going through this journey is to stay disciplined. This is a lot of work. You're going to be spending a lot of time. So the more disciplined you are, the better this journey is going to be for you. Now, having said that template, it does not mean that that's a set in stone template that I just used blindly no matter what. I think it's also a template that modifies as you go through the journey, and also as your life changes. Every time, let's say the template that I use when I was a fresh grad out of school is going to be is very different from the one that I'd use as a mid-career professional. But to give an example, like as you're ramping up your job hunt, you may not have a lot of interviews, maybe, but you're spending a lot more time applying to jobs, doing more networking and interview prep. And as you're entering into the peak of your interview job hunt, like you have a good amount of interviews lined up, you're giving interviews, and you're also like taking the feedback and like improving your skills. So you'll be spending more time with interview prep and giving interviews, and you'd start to like hone a little down on your networking and applying to jobs. And as you are like into sustenance phase where you're quite comfortable giving interviews, you're probably spending more and more time giving interviews than like getting more and more interview preps time. But one thing to keep note here is that at no point in my time I really gave up on any block. I'm still keeping all the blocks with some amount of time, so that like I'm making concurrent progress in all these tasks as I go through this job hunting journey. And this is very important, because the moment you start making things sequential, like one or the other is going to keep slacking off, and that affects the end result or the end quality of your job hunting journey. And that's something I want to highlight as a part of this slide deck. So to summarize, time management is a very essential skill for a successful job hunt. This is very important, because like if you don't manage time, it quickly starts getting overwhelming, and people tend to give up too soon. Like, you know what, I'll just stick and like put up with my boss. So people tend to give up too soon. So that's one major problem I noticed. And also sometimes you're too overwhelmed with this work, you really cannot handle like so many job interviews and so on. You just pick the first job that you get and you settle too soon, while a better job may be at an arm's reach, but you just chose not to pursue that. And sometimes in going again for a new job hunt journey is going to take you a lot of time, and that's pushing you back by another couple of years. And most importantly, this is a time consuming and emotionally draining process. So if you do not manage your time, you don't give enough time for yourself to relax, regenerate, and have separate family time and other stuff, you're going to be ending up with a lot of burnout and frustration. And that's why I think while positive mindset is the first most important thing, I believe time management is the second most important thing for a good job hunt. And also remember, like, this is not a one time and done thing. You might be going through this job hunting journey multiple times in your career. So the better you manage, better you understand what time management strategy works best for you, is going to help you make this, if not an enjoyable, at least an amicable journey, so that you can like confidently take this on at any point in your career if you think there's a need for a job hunt that's coming up. And again, like, there is no set in stone strategy here. You may have to like think about your own life and your circumstances, and then like set up your time management strategy that works best for you. With that, the final most important thing to say is that it's important to be disciplined. Like, you're going to have a lot of things running around, so the more disciplined you are during this phase, the more amicable this process is going to be. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the single most important paper, or nowadays the single most important PDF that will be the hero packet that's going to be like going around, like trying to pitch on your behalf to all companies, the resume. We'll be talking about resume preparation and some tips and tricks, and some structuring ideas that I used in my resume that worked out for me. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you found this episode useful. Looking forward to meet you in the next episode. Thank you.